You ever wondered what the climb was like for some of the most influential figures in the music industry? How'd they get there? Where'd they come from?
People on my board, he failed me, thought that I cheated.
Come with us as these talented and often relentless individuals weave us through their journeys, from garages and bars to arenas and stadiums. And we gotta tell you, some of these stories are kind of crazy. This is Road to the Arena. Here are your hosts, Wendy Hope, Drew Russell, and Mike Slade. Today's guest, Spencer Crandall. Spencer.
Hi.
Spencer.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Sun
I'm very
came
good.
out
Yes,
in Nashville in the winter. That's odd.
That's all you can ask for. That is all you can ask for.
I love it dark and cloudy and gray.
Do you really?
I do.
Yeah, you're
I'm,
Northwest
I'm
girl.
from Southern California. Like it's like,
Yeah, you want the contrast.
I
we all
hate
want
the
we didn't
sun.
have, I guess.
yeah, I prefer this. I'll take this
That's
every
fair.
day.
That's fair.
Sad songs. You like sad songs?
I love sad songs.
Do you work out to sad songs?
I do. I do.
do.
I
Really?
work out to all country, only country music, and like the slower, the more dramatic the song, the better my workout is.
Wow.
If I want a PR, like
Yeah.
go for the just craziest gym morning I can, I will listen to Here Comes Goodbye by
Yes,
Rascal Flatts.
love that song.
Well, Rascal Flatts, for some reason, I don't know what
It
it
just
is.
triggers something
Yeah.
primal in me that I need to get out of the situation I'm in.
and George Strait. I mean, come on, you look so good in love. Like I am working.
He stopped
out.
loving her today. Like,
Yeah.
there's just weird, I
Right?
don't know why it just
I'm
makes
not
me
going
feel
to
like I
share
need
my
to
workout
lift.
list. It's too embarrassing.
No, you're like a hard rock. Like
No, I'm like my favorite song to jog to is what's the song by Wham with the big sax hook? Guilty feet have got no that rhythm. That one.
don't ask him.
Never
to sing.
gonna dance with you.
Oh,
Guilty
great.
feet have got you know that song, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What's it called? That one. I can go all day with that one.
Okay,
Yeah,
I get
right,
that.
yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay.
George
well,
Michael.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, also like I don't know. I work out to podcasts. People tell me that it sounds
can't.
horrible. I just like anything.
Oh, I do podcasts.
Podcast workout. Get after it in the gym. That's why I'm so
Loud rock and
yoked.
roll. Yeah.
so
Because
yoked.
the podcasts really make me get after it. Yeah,
so
that's why I'm all yoked up. Like
What
I
is
am.
your pod of
What a
choice?
E-man.
How I Built This by Guy Raz.
How about this?
That is a
You know
great
that one?
podcast.
I do. It's like just, I feel like the kind of thing where if you're thinking business or you're thinking like anything in that world, it just gets your gears turning. It's like, ooh.
Well, what I like is I think I've heard every episode. So I get to zoom way out on like 200 episodes and be like, what do all these people have in common?
Yeah.
They all have really unique stories, but they also all have like a moment where any normal person would just quit.
Would have given up, yeah. Like the Burt's Bees one was like
have a
that,
question.
right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
we talk about Spencer.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Thanks.
We're here to talk about Spencer. Who? You
Well,
started
I
it with
asked
your
you.
workout trip.
I asked
Hey,
you
you
what your
asked me a
pod was.
question.
I asked you what your pod was, and that's
Okay,
your
Spencer,
answer.
take us back to the beginning.
Yes. Take
Start
us
at
back.
the- start at the
Where are you
beginning.
from?
Born in a log cabin. I'm from Denver, Colorado.
Nice.
I went to college in Colorado.
Did you where?
Colorado College.
Colorado
Springs.
There you go. That's where my parents are from. Colorado
Really?
Springs. My grandparents, like, it's like 30-second drive from Colorado College. So
Really? Up on the north end. Yeah, I go there all the time because I'm a trustee.
yeah,
And
there
my
you go.
son's going there this fall.
Okay, very nice. I went to Colorado State, and I had a
Fort Collins.
short stint at Colorado Mesa. I played some football there.
Mesa College, yeah, right.
Yeah, yep.
We
So
used
that
to
was
play
fun.
them. Right, yeah.
And yeah, I mean the way back story is that grew up playing sports. I wasn't necessarily a music guy. I came about this just from loving music, listening to music in my car, and then for my senior project in high school, they said, "Come up with something that's like a learning stretch." And I didn't really want to do anything that my friends were doing. It sounded very boring, or at least to me, it was boring. I didn't have any interest in like medicine or law or anything like that. So I was like, well, I listen to a ton of music, so I'm going to teach myself how to play the guitar and like write a song or whatever. I actually had like one of the people on my board, he failed me on my senior project because he thought that I cheated. And he was like,
Because you got so good.
that was his claim, which is the weirdest compliment.
town, really?
So my mom is fighting the school to not
What
fail
school
me.
did you go
Well, how do you cheat
Thunder Ridge
at
High
learning
School.
guitar?
He
Like,
thought
don't you
that-
have to witness a person that you like? You had already played guitar and you acted like, sort of like you write your first paper as a C. So
Right.
Okay.
So he basically claimed that I already knew, I was already musical, and I had already played an instrument, and I chose something that I could kind of swindle my way through and be like, oh, look, I learned this.
And that wasn't true.
No, and my mentor was like the worship pastor at my parents' church. So then he's calling him a liar.
Wow.
It was a whole
Nice
thing.
guy.
So that's how I
Jeez.
got into music, was being failed for my senior project. But then weirdly, I was like, is this like a sign that I should think about this more than I have ever thought about it? And then again, I went to go play some college football. Very quickly got 2 shoulder surgeries and had a bunch of
What
doctors.
position were you playing?
I was a nose guard.
Okay.
I was about 70 pounds heavier than I am now. I was a
You're
very
gonna,
big
you're gonna
guy.
get shit kicked out of you every day. As a
Yeah,
nose guard,
well,
right?
I
Yeah,
did.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I broke my hip, hand, ankle,
Oh, my.
collarbone, 5 concussions, 2 shoulder surgeries.
Whoa.
I wrestled. So my body is that of a 112-year-old man. When I wake up in the morning,
Same.
it just cracks.
Especially
into
the cold
place.
weather, right?
Oh, I feel it.
Yeah.
My shoulders especially. I'm always doing this, and my mom's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, there's always a little spot in my neck, no matter what. But I did that, and I had a bunch of doctors basically tell me like, pick another thing because you're here too much. And the athletic trainer was like, do you want to like throw the ball to your kid or do a push-up when you're older? I was like, I do. He's like, you should stop playing sports. So at that same time, I had stolen a little guitar from my little brother when I went up to college. And I just went on YouTube and was like, chords to play guitar. And you sit there and you learn G, C, D, E minor. And then
And then that's it. That's all you need for the rest.
that's all I need,
Yeah,
folks.
three-
Podcast is over.
And that's how you build a
Well, but
business.
if you played that much sports, you must have had a really good work ethic.
I think I'm super lucky that sports and music are closer than people think, even though they seem
Because
diametrically
the practice
opposed.
to payoff ratios. Really
Yeah,
high.
practice to
That's
pay
right.
off. That's a
Yeah,
great way to say that, right? Like, okay, I'm going to put in 12 hours to play one song.
Right.
I'm going to put in 14 hours to learn like just the stance and the
Right.
mechanics and fundamentals. So definitely overlaps. And I'm super lucky that I also just had a bunch of time on my hands. I didn't really want to go to class and I didn't love my major and I'd broken up with my high school girlfriend. So I just had this like, I don't know, fifth life crisis. And that's when I found music for real. And so I just started posting online. And, you know, the story I tell at my shows is like, I got 0 likes and my grandma got a Facebook and then I got 1 like. Like it was really like that. It wasn't this, I've never had that like Bailey Zimmerman overnight, whoa, who is this guy moment. I was really a slow
Few people
burn.
do, right.
Very few people do. And that's the reality of the music industry. You know, Bieber gets found by Usher and then that's somehow the bar is like, okay, well, I'll post a video and Usher will find me.
Yeah.
And the reality is for most of us, it takes like whatever, 10-year town, all that stuff. So yeah, I just started posting and then all of a sudden I kind of blinked and I had switched schools and then 2 years went by and I had a couple 100,000 followers online and I was kind of like, this doesn't feel normal for just posting covers. And then I had people reaching out and they would say, hey man, time you're in town, we should write. And I would go, where's town? Where's this
that in
magical,
Nebraska?
musical, mystical town that
Ohio.
you speak of, right? Yeah, exactly. And so I moved to Ohio.
It turns out they were all in Columbus.
Yeah, no shade to our Ohioans.
We like people from
And so
Ohio.
I visited here and I came out here with my mom actually and my manager at the time. We'd already started working together. And I just knew in my heart, I was like, okay, I have to move there because what's the worst thing that could happen? In my head, I'm like, I just go and get the job and I kind of do the thing. Like I just stay in Colorado and I would love that. And that's a great backup plan at the time, right? So I was like,
What year was this?
this is 2016.
Okay.
And so I had a year left of college. So my parents' rule for us was, okay, we'll help you through college. So we'll help you pay rent and stuff. And then after college, you fly and you figure it out.
Yep.
So I convinced my parents, hi, mom and dad, I have to pay rent anywhere. What if I went and saved you money? I'm a sales guy.
Ooh, nice.
And I'll go
Sounds like my
to
daughters.
online school and I'll finish my degree. It will still say Colorado State on the degree, but I'll save you money.
Is it cheaper? Well, online was cheaper?
Yeah, significantly. So they're like, okay. And at that point, I really had some traction with music. And then the first guy I met, here's a guy named Tyler Rich. And Tyler and I played some shows. And the first guy that he introduced me to was Chris Lane. And Chris, I convinced him at a barbecue. I was like, hey man, I see that you're playing some shows in Colorado. I'm already gonna be there. All acoustic open for free. So I called my mom, I'm like, I need a flight to Colorado right now. I was not gonna be there. And then I got to hop on that tour. And at the time it was Chris, Morgan Wallen, and then me. So very young Morgan Wallen with the middle part and the leather cuffs.
Love it.
Wow.
And so all of a sudden I found myself, you know, brand new to Nashville, and I had kind of hopped on a tour. So then I got a booking agent out of that, and me and my manager started putting out music, and then it just kind of started to unfold. And here we are a couple of years later.
That's amazing.
So wait, you start posting content and then all of a sudden you look up and there's 200,000 people watching it? Or like, was there, because you went from your grandma to 200.
How long did that?
Yeah, what
That's
happened?
like 2 years, and I would post
Was it
like,
just like steady burn? Like,
I would
Grandma
post
still
3
with
to
us?
5. Yeah.
So 100,001.
Yeah, exactly. Like 3 to 5 covers a week. And I would
What
post
kind of
original
covers?
stuff.
How did you decide what
just
you do?
whatever's in the top 10.
Right.
I just
Country,
go to
right?
Only country?
But I would also go, okay, what's the most popular song in the world? Hello by Adele. Okay.
Because your sound is not pure country. Right?
No, I love having one foot in and one foot out. I love that there's a steel guitar and then there's going to be a trumpet.
You're
and
from
then
Colorado. That's Colorado.
And that's Colorado.
Folk rock, you know.
Correct. It has this
Polka.
like 1 minute you're driving in the mountains. Like my uncle's a little cowboy pastor. He's like, his church is called Church on the Ranch.
Wow.
So that's like those kinds of people. And then you have hippies and Red Rocks and
Totally,
EDM
yeah,
and you
right.
have
Grateful
downtown
Dead.
Denver. So
Right,
yeah, Grateful Dead, right?
Right,
So you
right.
have this amalgamation of culture. It's this melting pot. I feel like a product of that. And so I think my music and my look and all those things should kind of
Colorado's very unique
reflect
that way.
It's very unique.
it's unique.
Right,
It's
yeah.
like, I'm cold. I have a sunburn.
Oh, I know. No, and it's the same with
Like,
culture. It's the same,
what is
It's the
that?
same with culture, right?
Yeah.
You know, the two guys in the pickup truck, you know, they couldn't be more different, but they have the same truck.
Yeah.
Yes, that's it.
Right,
You're crushing it. That's so true. And I think when I got into country music, I immediately noticed like, okay, well, I don't sound like Garth Brooks or Luke Combs, but there's guys like Keith Urban or
Yeah,
Gary
classic-
LaVox
classic-
or
Keith Urban's
whatever.
a classic example,
Right.
right,
And so I'm like, okay, well, I can do a similar thing to what they're doing. I will understand like if it's the country competition of the world, sure, I will happily, Morgan can take the crown or whoever, right?
Yeah.
That's not why I got into country music. The reason I got into country music is not to punch a card and be like, look how many fish I've caught. I promise you I have the picture. It's to tell stories.
Right.
And the difference between pop and country, in my opinion, is almost like, it's like in a movie, there's the soundtrack and then there's the script. When the person's running through the airport and they want you to feel something, if the song is too specific, it kicks you out of the moment because you're watching a different story. So they can take that song and put it over any story. Country music is the story.
Yeah.
And I would listen to VH1 Behind the Music or whatever growing up, and these pop songs, people would tell the story behind the song, and I was like, why didn't you just write that?
Yeah, well, no, 'cause,
Yeah.
well,
It's
it's
so
all
much cooler.
because it's all because you know there's a famous Peter Paul and Mary song that parodies rock and roll. It's called "I Dig Rock and Roll Music," and it talks about how the Beatles don't say what they mean. Right? They leave it between the lines, and so ever since then, right?
Yeah.
Everybody thought that was the cool. Dylan and them were both like,
Yes.
we're gonna, you know,
Bob Dylan's a great
Yeah,
example, right? Just like, I'm telling you a tale, and here's a different tale, and now we're
Right,
over here,
right,
and here's
right.
my thoughts on politics.
Whereas
It's
folk
very,
music isn't like that. Folk music was always straight
Stories.
storytelling, right?
And so still love to this day about country music is I want to know, okay, well, what did the truck smell like? And like, what was she drinking? And why was it 2 a.m.? I really like the setting of the scene. I like the literal storytelling aspect of it, A to B. And then I love the instruments. You know, I picked up a guitar. I didn't like gravitate towards a saxophone or even the piano for a long time. I thought there's nothing cool in the world in country music. And that's what I grew up listening to. So, you know, my dad would play Kenny Chesney the whole drive, and then he would go in the gas station. My mom would put on Justin Timberlake or like John Mayer or
Right.
Michael Bublé or whatever. So, and a lot of Christian music. I listened to growing up to a lot of Christian music. So I just have this Frankenstein version. I always feel like I'm a part of this LimeWire generation, which was the app that came after Napster, and it just crashed computers.
Yep.
Right.
My parents threw away like 3 great computers because my older brother and I would just go download every Green Day song ever. And we did.
I
And
remember sitting in my college apartment, and thankfully you could, I mean, this is really dangerous. I can't believe this was a thing, but you could get on anybody's Wi-Fi Because
Yeah.
back then, the idea of a password for Wi-Fi
Yeah,
was
it
not
was-
a
right,
was not a
right.
thing.
No.
And you could just see their computer, their LimeWire, and just download all their music.
You're like, what could possibly go wrong?
Right.
Yeah, I know. Like
know.
it was
But did anything really go wrong then, though? Like nothing. It seems
felt
like
pretty right for me.
It
I mean,
felt
the
pretty
quality
right.
of the songs
I never
was
saw. There's no
next-
drama.
Other than copyright law
Quality
being
songs.
broken,
Yeah,
no, nothing.
right.
Right.
Other
And
than
people not
that-
getting paid.
Yeah.
That
But
was the
Yeah, that was a big deal.
that's the probably the
And
looking
occasionally
back.
you'd get a.
But
my
people
daughter
weren't
got a
like
nasty
they weren't
gram
stealing
from the
your
record label.
they weren't stealing your identity back then though. They weren't like
No.
they,
They didn't know
weren't
how to
ju-
do
The
it.
worst thing
yeah.
that would happen is you would get a virus on
Exactly.
your computer.
That
which was
would
bad.
just
For Windows,
I mean,
that was
bad.
horrible.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not for the Mac, but for Windows.
not for the Mac,
Yeah, right.
but
Yeah, for
yeah.
Windows.
Well, I mean,
Our
part of the reason why
Windows was
people
shot.
didn't get paid, though, we now know this. Like we have this retrospect right now where you can look back at it and say, the reason why people didn't get paid is because they were fighting it so hard.
Right.
There was
Exactly.
like people
No,
were so
that-
busy fighting this entire movement that they forgot to monetize it.
That's
Exactly.
That's what
Yeah.
Steve Jobs did. Is that he did the first time where you could do a record store, and he did it by convincing the labels it was only going to be on the Mac.
Yeah.
And so by doing that, because it was like 4% market share, they were like, okay, we'll try it because we like
Sure.
Steve, you know. So they did that, and then a year later, he was like, we're going to do the iTunes store on Windows, and they're like, they'd already been like,
It was Pandora's box, Napster,
Yeah.
iTunes. Eventually, the access becomes so addicting that everyone has to play ball because otherwise, what are you doing? Like,
yeah. But
okay,
it was
well,
all
fine, we'll only sell
because
CDs.
Steve charmed them to begin
Yeah.
with.
There you go.
And we've seen that now too. Like in recent memory, you can remember people like, I'm taking everything off Spotify.
Yeah.
And then like very quietly, 6 months later, it all comes
Yeah, they're
back.
back. Yeah. Okay, so TikTok.
TikTok.
What yeah, TikTok.
You're opening on these tours.
Yeah, so I guess I'll fill in the gaps. So how are we here? So like 2016, I started putting out music, and like this is where in the movie, like a montage might kick in.
Who do you think plays you in the movie?
Oh,
Probably
I mean,
Brad
I've
Pitt,
talked to
Craig.
Brad a lot. Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
It's
I
just
like
way
Daniel
more
Craig.
close.
No, Daniel Craig, way better.
Guys, I am self-aware enough to know that it would have to be like more of like a broad-chested boy. I mean, I'm not gonna get the Brad Pitt. I want like
You're thinking like Chris Farley? No,
God bless R.I.P. I'll take like a equivalent to like a J.J. Watt.
Okay.
there you
Ooh,
go.
I like
I'll-
that.
I can
like
see
that.
that.
Yeah, me
actually,
too.
you guys actually kind of look
how about
alike.
John Cena?
Sure. If we can do all the age CGI that they've done in the Marvel in movies.
You know who you kind of look like though? You know who Colin Ray is, right? Colin Ray, country singer back in the
Colin Ray.
90s,
Yeah,
maybe?
I don't know.
That's my story,
Jeff,
and
you
I'm
wanna give
sticking
me a
to
Google?
it.
Yeah,
That's my story.
I Want You Bad, and that ain't
that
good.
song?
I know the song. I could not tell you what Colin
But
Ray looks
young,
like.
but a young Colin. I mean, now I think
Okay.
Colin's like got to be 60, right? I don't even know. But I mean,
I don't
Colin,
know.
when
Isn't
was
he
in
on
his
your
20s?
publishing company?
Yeah, he's part of it. But I don't know how old he is. I mean, what do I?
If you're listening, Colin, text me your age.
Yeah,
Let me
Colin.
know.
I'll call him later. We'll ask
Yeah,
him.
we'll be
Okay.
Colin. Hey. I hated it too. So the movie montage kicks in, but the reality of real life is there was no movie montage. Jeff and I put out, Jeff's my manager, we put out, 50 songs and just slowly built because I saw very early on, okay, the labels are going to radio. That's why they put out a single. And they're going to go work that single for a year. And then that single is going to go number one. And that's how they get everybody out. Well, I can't do that,
Right.
at least right now. And we're talking labels, but like, okay, we don't have one. So I'm going to act like that doesn't exist because I have to. And so what happens if I go quantity, obviously never sacrificing quality in my head, but just going, I'm going to just try to feed a fan base. And then
Were they all just you and a guitar and nothing else?
no, we the first thing I did was like a project that I produced out of Colorado, and that's all been taken down. And then the second thing I did, I got here and I just met some buddies, and we did like a stripped kind of like acoustic mixtape. That was when Sam Hunt was just kind of coming up, and I saw what he did, and it was like stripped. It was like a drum machine and like a dobro and an acoustic and a piano and like one harmony.
Wow.
And I was like, why don't we just spend $500 a song?
Right.
And then I had built enough of a fan base doing the covers where all of a sudden I put that up, and that went at the time number one on iTunes. And I had all these people like, messaging me on Instagram, basically like, who are you? And I just don't think even to this day, people really understand the access to the fans. And I do, I believe in that like wholeheartedly. And so I saw that really early on and believed in it. Jeff, my manager, and I would just kind of sit down and go like, do we love the song? Yes. Do we think our fans are going to love the song? Yes. So why is it sitting in my phone?
Yeah.
okay, can we market it? Yeah. Like, what does marketing it look like? Okay. It used to look like, okay, you have to go to MTV with the music video that was $1 million. Now, can I just post me in the car singing it? You know, I'm in college and I'm watching guys like Kane Brown. He's literally has a Bluetooth speaker.
Yep.
He's going,
Yeah.
me and my buddies wrote the song today. It's called Heaven. And he sings it like 5 million views.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just feel like it's different because that has more views than the music video that they would pay for. And I just kind of felt this thing and I felt this thing and I kept going at it. And then all of a sudden, it's like 2019 and my sister was telling me about this app and she's like, it's called TikTok. And I looked at it, I'm like, this just feels like 13-year-old girls like dancing in their room. This feels weird to me. I don't know like what this is. And she goes, but what are they dancing to?
Yeah. Sound
music.
on.
Right.
Yeah.
With artist name scrolling.
Right.
Yeah.
And light bulb, right? And I'm like, oh, this is a music app. This is not, I mean, it's called Musically at the time.
Yeah,
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, it was Musically.
So, but to me, I just see dance, or you see all the comedy sketch stuff that was a little, God bless him, like cringy at the time. It was very Vine reminiscent,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so that turned me off. But then when I was like, well, what if I did my thing on there? And I had missed Vine, which I think is kind of an important piece of the story. I saw Vine, but I didn't have the courage to post.
It wasn't around that long either, and they were
Wasn't
really
around.
But a
Not at
couple
all.
of people like
I had a
this
kid at my high school who was like huge on Vine. And I was always like, whoa, I should have done that. I could have done something, whether it was comedy. And I was like, you know what? The next one, I'll never let that happen again. So then TikTok comes around. And I'm at my manager Jeff's house. And we're just talking about the next year. It's like maybe October the year before. And I just come out with a song called My Person. And I go, I'm going to go so freaking hard at this thing. Maybe it crashes and burns. But if it's the next thing and I'm this early, I think I have a shot to like make some noise on here. And I could never have predicted the world shuts down
right.
to a global pandemic. And the only thing we can do is watch Tiger King
And TikTok.
Yeah.
and go on TikTok, right?
Right.
And I happened to already be there. I'd gained 100,000 followers. So I had a little leg up. I'd learned a ton on the app. I'm posting 5 times a day.
Yeah. Isn't that
And I'm just
amazing?
learning and I'm learning and learning and learning. And all of a sudden the whole world shuts down and people are going like, what? What do you mean TikTok? And I'm like, I actually have kind of figured this thing out, and 100,000 became a million, became almost at 3 million, right? And that's like, I couldn't have never have dreamed that. I would have never dreamed of selling out a hometown show of 1,800 people because of an app that my sister showed.
Well, so I think we talked
Just wild.
for the very first time right around when you were starting to just dive into TikTok. And I was trying to tell my friends, I was just strict math. It was mathematics.
Yep.
I was like, so you got this song and it's used in this many videos, and those videos are on an average getting, 800,000 views. And if you just kind of like extrapolate all those numbers out, we're talking about like billions of people. You got to do this. And this in unison, most people who I would explain that to would respond by saying, oh, but it trends too young. It's they're very dismissive of it.
Like all hot music starts with young, right?
and all social media.
Yeah,
I
that-
mean,
No, what I mean-
Facebook,
yeah,
Twitter,
right.
MySpace, we all see this. The music's too young, the social media, the delivery, all that stuff. It's too young. It's all high school kids, all college kids. And then all of our moms and our aunts and our grandmas have an account, and you're going like, you blinked, and now it's
well,
just,
right now it's like, I forget what the stat is, but it's 35 to 45, or maybe it's 35 to 55 are the highest signups for TikTok.
right. And it's that
I think it's
late,
35, 55.
late
35,
adapters,
55.
right? You have early adapters or adopters, and you have the late ones. And I really, there's a lot of luck involved here. I just was at the right place at the right time with like a lead. And then I think the hard work of the consistency of like,
Yeah, the thing that's remarkable to me is that you strike me as somewhat of an extrovert, and most musical people are, in my opinion, introverts, right? They want to
Sure.
focus on their music, right? So
Sure.
you're comfortable posting all the time. Your left brain is taking over then, right? Which is really
I feel
cool.
very lucky that I somehow,
Well, it's probably sports too. So
Yes,
you grew up with
exactly.
sports,
Right?
and
Bingo.
yeah.
absolutely.
right.
I genuinely, this might sound like a brag, but I mean this as just a genuine, I'm so thankful that I have the bleeding heart creative thing in my heart. I really do. I want to tell stories. I want to move people to tears. And I also have a very logical, practical side of my
we can tell.
brain that's
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
but just post the song. Oh,
Right.
people don't like it? Well, 300 people saw it. So what do you mean people don't like it?
Yeah, yeah.
And I just kept taking that as far as I could and would go, okay, there's 60 million country music fans that just listen to radio. If I've never had 60 million views on a video, then not everyone's seen it. So keep posting. And that song, My Person, over literally 3 years, that song grew and grew. And then everyone would tell me in a
I love
meeting
that
6
song.
months to a year.
So
Thank you.
good. It's
Well, how
so
about the
good.
fact that Brooks and Dunn is headlining festivals now
Yeah.
because they blew back up on TikTok.
Yeah.
Because it turned out there was a whole bunch of people that weren't aware of Brooks and Dunn.
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
my little sister would have never hummed Neon Moon
Yeah.
when making cookies.
No.
But now all of a sudden, you have the backbeat on the sun goes down
Yeah.
on my side down.
It's like,
and
what are you
my
doing?
sister has that on her Spotify. And she's going have you heard of these guys? They're called Brooks and Dunn. I'm like, have you heard of these guys? You're 21. You have no idea. But the beauty and the magic of the internet is no song's dead, no song's old, no song is
Everything comes
at
around.
any time over. And I just kept believing that. I keep believing that, and it's worked out super well.
So when you first started posting like multiple times a day, like what did you post?
I mean, it was just
Like in a given day, say.
so much trial and error. And I think this is what I think a lot of us do. When you see something and you want to do it or be in it and be a part of it, there's a couple options. You can either reinvent the entire thing, you can do your version of something, or you can carbon copy. I tried all of it. I would try, okay, Kane Brown's sitting in his kitchen with the speaker. I'm going to buy the same speaker and get the exact same shot and plop it down and sing. Okay, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't.
Maybe the algorithm likes it. Yeah,
Maybe
right.
because it's working. Then there's also part of the algorithm is rewarding what's working, and then there's the pendulum swing or the antithesis of there's always a group of people that don't feel fed when something's working. So then you try the exact opposite, which is okay, maybe we try to shoot something kind of pro and high res, and that would work. And then I think at this point in my life, I just realized there's no they're not opposed. It's just everything. Try everything because
But what I meant was that in say a given day posting 5 things. Is it 5 different versions of the same song?
No.
Or how much material do you have?
I mean,
Just
I would-
covering everything.
I started to make enough money off streaming where it could be a full-time thing. And then I would just, sit in my house and literally go, okay, what's the number 1 song? What's the number 2 song?
so you just cover, right? Yeah.
Covers,
Boom, boom, boom.
but then
Just
I would
one
also write a song that week and I'd go, I like the song. Let's put it up online. And
Right.
then I would do a lip sync video. And then I'd get with my friends in the parking garage
a lip sync video of what?
of me lip syncing to my own song.
Yeah.
So
it's an act.
almost
right,
like a mini
right,
music video, right? Because
right.
I always saw, okay, music video was king for decades.
They were great. Right.
But that was because they had platforms.
yeah. Right.
Okay, if I'm the platform, if I'm MTV, then should I shoot my own music video? Yeah, okay, I don't have even $10, but I have an iPhone.
You got a high quality iPhone.
And
sure,
I could put the lyrics over it. And, I think a big part of it was no matter what I was doing, I'm trying to gamify people into hitting buttons because that is how it gets sent out to more people. There's these little gates around thresholds of human beings on the internet. And if you get past the 300 threshold, it spills over into 1,000. And then if you get past that, it spills over into 10,000. If you spill over that, well, then I found different and better ways to just kind of almost bypass the first 7 or 8 gates. And then
Warp zone.
correct. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, I know that people have to hit like, comment, share, save. How do I make people do that? While also hopefully trying to add value without just being please follow me, please stream the song.
So do you do it on Reels also or just on TikTok?
On all the things. I mean, if there's attention there, still to this day, I'm going on the App Store and just going or I'll text my sister, right? She's 22. And I'll go, is there anything that you and your friends are using that I'm not aware of? Help me.
Right.
I'm 29. I'm okay
Right.
that I will never be able to keep on top of it. That's good. I want to find those things as early as possible. And then there's also a reality things come and go, but the attention is always going to be somewhere. And so it's just about doing what I do where that attention is. And
Yeah, so it's really not luck though. One of the things speaking of how I built this is the common themes. One of them is that timing, right? And I used to have a basketball coach back in the day that would say the right pass a little early or a little late is the wrong pass.
Yep.
You know,
Right.
and it's the perfect pass, just a split second early.
Yeah.
Wrong pass. So, but what you see in all those business stories is people are like trying to find a wave to surf, but you can't like go over when you see the wave because it's too late. You can't like hop up and surf a wave that exists.
Right.
So you have to kind of see some bumps and go swim over there. And there's usually some weirdos over there.
And risk.
Yes.
Because if you go over there and it's just little bumps
It stays bumps.
and it stays bumps, or it goes completely flat and where you just were all the waves,
Yep.
that hurts. That's
Yeah.
not fun.
No.
And trust me, I have so many people who have literally called me or texted me and apologized to me because they're like, you were the guy, you were the crazy guy in the bumps going, there's gonna be waves, guys. I promise, they're coming. And everyone's like, oh shit, he's crazy. He's lost it. I had people who were like, I thought you threw your career away. I had people, and those are the same people. Again, this is not like a brag statement. This is just like, they're asking me to go to coffee to talk about the internet.
Ask how you did, yeah.
And there's not a single part of me that's like, you called me. No, I love that because the internet is the wild freaking West and we all need each other and we need to bounce ideas off each other. And it's hard. It's not this like, for some reason there's like, I think people think that because you get views and views equal fame or money or whatever, that it is this thing that everyone can do or it's this thing that everyone should do. It's really hard. It's a very specific kind of thing to try and do.
You got to be a total self-starter because you get no feedback till afterwards.
No feedback.
There's no ongoing feedback.
Or
until
can
you're
you
done.
get
Right, yeah.
horrible feedback for a year?
Yeah, right.
Right.
And
And
haters.
Make
and
another
get
video.
told that
So
you're
many
the
haters.
shittiest
Right,
artist.
right,
And someone's,
right.
I mean, I had a comment today that someone was just like, you are the biggest sellout piece of shit. Like,
Nice. Wow.
Thank you.
for like a full
That was me, but I feel terrible about it now.
That's
I
my
really
other
do.
account.
Right, yeah, right.
But it was like a thesis
Yeah,
of
really.
just why I'm terrible.
Why do people do that? I don't understand
nothing
that.
better
It's
to do.
always
Right,
more
right.
about them than
Yeah,
it is
it
about
really
Exactly.
is. But wow.
Yeah,
That's nuts.
There's just this thing, especially on the internet. You watch people and they just like.
So what do you do when they do that? Do you reply or you just kind of like whatever?
I usually hit them with a sarcastic comment. It's like, you are so right. When I sold my soul to the devil 6 years ago, I said I want nothing left. So you're right. I'm an industry plant. Like, what can you do? It's
Good,
right?
but yeah, that's
because those people.
Because you diffuse it that way. It's like,
The other thing
dude,
that I have done is I've gotten a few people who I actually knew, and you know they were just kind of making fun of me again, being like, this guy's posting on TikTok and all that stuff, and then they had later asked for concert tickets to my show, right? And what I felt good about is that I just gave them the tickets. I was like, you know what, you can, because that's what's in my control,
Right.
And hopefully that's the kind of stuff that you can stop a cycle of just hurting people.
Yeah,
people.
until a head of
Yeah,
lettuce
absolutely.
landed on stage.
Yeah, exactly. That's a very old tomato went right in my guitar. No.
Okay,
It's good for you.
So what are you doing now? Do you have an album coming out or where are we at right now?
We're just at the point that I have a single coming out on the 9th. What's today? The 31st?
Yeah.
Yep.
The 10
Coming
days,
up.
11 days.
10
So
days.
that's been crazy. Again, talking about the internet. I get this demo back, a day of demo. And there's a part of me that's like, okay, I got to play by the old rules. And so I'm not going to post it whenever. And I just was like, or I could go shoot a TikTok right now and put it up on the internet. And from posting in like December till today, a song that hasn't even come out yet has been watched almost 25 million times.
Wow.
It's amazing.
So
Unbelievable.
it's hard to put into words. Like, I feel so lucky. I feel like I've hit this jackpot of I have a lifeline, a direct line to human beings who want to hear the thing that I'm passionate about. Like, that's
Anyway.
such a rare
is-
experience as a
That's
human
amazing.
being. And I'm so lucky and I'm so excited for the music that we have coming. I took a lot of time last year for the first time to like regroup. I had like really, for lack of a better metaphor, like emptied the quiver. I had written so many songs and I just was out of songs and life experience, and we had been on tour and I was just like burned out. And so I put out a bunch of features, and then the second half of last year I just wrote music, and I kept growing the online presence and stuff, but there was a fear inside of me that's like, it's all gone away. You're just gonna
When's it gonna go away?
You hit a few gold mines, but when you go to strike again, it will never happen. So it does feel really good and like
I think that's every artist's
Garth
fear,
still,
though.
Garth still
right?
says
Like,
that. Garth is like,
he
it
does.
can all go away. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, but
But you are.
you're so creative and you're worried that like is that flame gonna burn out? And if it does,
Yeah.
how do I get it back? And what do I do? And what kind of experiences do I need to like reignite it? You know?
And the irony is, the more you like worry about the flame, you're not like gathering fuel,
Right,
So
exactly.
then you actually have nothing to put on the fire,
Yeah.
and that's what I was running into. Is I was like, I have fans, I have people who care. How lucky am I? Now I have nothing else to say.
Yeah.
The scariest thing, but the right thing to do, is to go away, live life, write music, and as an artist, 6 months feels like torture.
yeah.
Yeah.
Especially
But-
you.
Correct.
With what you're
Absolutely.
talking about.
When
the
I'm putting
amount
out a
of
song
output.
a month, right? And so I trusted that. I trusted people on my team. And now we are like, the quiver's full. We have songs and videos and stuff popping off. So it feels amazing. And I'm like so excited for this year. We can't say everything. Otherwise, Jeff's going to put a blow dart gun in my neck. But we have really cool plans.
He's got
That's
one.
cool.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. No, I mean, I think it's fun how oppo you went with your whole strategy
Yeah.
because I'm thinking, and this is just nerdy kid stuff for me being a 90s kid. You had Monday Night Raw and Monday Nitro, the two big wrestling promotions. And Eric Bischoff, who was doing WCW, said, I'm just going to produce a show that's the exact opposite of what the WWE or F at the time is doing. They're taped, we're live. They're 2 hours, we're 3. They're blah, blah. And I can't tell, I mean, it's insane. And Wendy, you've probably seen this, the number of people who are writing all the time.
Yeah.
They're apparently in the studio and nobody knows they exist because they're sitting on, allegedly, they're sitting on all this content.
Right.
And I've been trying to tell, like, many of them are my friends, like, people don't know that you're a human.
Yeah.
People
Put
don't
it
even
out.
exist.
If you're an
and it
artist, like,
doesn't
you
need
gotta-
to be perfect.
Yeah, you gotta get something out there.
What is perfect?
I know.
Right.
Like, there's a ton of music now that's coming out, and like Zach Bryan's not perfect on purpose.
Right.
Like we have a buddy who has played drums for me, and he did some session work for them. They're sitting in a circle without a click,
Yeah.
and they're jamming. People love that about him.
They love it.
People like to
Because
see-
he's not
yeah.
to a click. There's no tune. There's no anything. There's room for everything, whatever it is.
And
put
you're
it
going to
out.
have people that aren't going to like it anyway. So if it's perfect, they're not going to like. There's going to be somebody that's not going to like it. It's like the
my
guy,
gosh,
or
yeah.
girl that left that rude comment. I mean, you're not going to please everybody.
Taylor
So
Swift's the
put it
biggest
out.
artist in the world, and I
Yeah.
hear people all the time.
Oh.
Oh, what an idiot! I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
okay.
If I can be
Yeah.
an
More
idiot
power
with
to
my
her.
entire own economy,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
that's
fine.
right.
Yeah.
I will happily take that.
I'll be an
I will
idiot.
take anything.
Well,
Taylor
and you
Swift
know
has
the
done.
other
I'll wear an
thing,
idiot hat.
this
I'm
whole
fine.
generation of people who grew up where all that ever happened every day was friction got reduced, whatever it was, getting a cab, getting a loan, right? Having dinner, whatever the heck it was. It was hard, then it was less hard, and then it was on you could do it in the back
Instant.
of an Uber, right? And so music should of course be that way, right?
Right.
And so anyone who's trending like that, just that's the way their life's going, they're going to relate to it.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and I think there's such a mismatch between artist, industry, whatever, and consumer brain.
Yes.
And I'm
Yes.
trying to constantly unplug my artist and business person brain and just ask myself, okay, I'm the biggest Justin Timberlake fan. Do I want more Justin Timberlake music or less Justin Timberlake music? I want more.
Yeah, right.
He could put out a song every month until forever, and I'm still going to listen to it. The difference is when you put out that much music, you have to be careful of not oversaturating or whatever. I get it. But I think there is a question to be asked, which is like, okay, I'm a fan of this person. I'm a fan of music. I'm whatever. Why as a fan, do I want more, faster? But then as an artist or as a business person, we're trying to play these super slow 2-year games around an album cycle and these singles going to radio, which I get when you're Morgan Wallen and you have songs going to radio and they live at number 1 and it's last night and it
yeah,
becomes one of the biggest songs of all time. You need that evergreen moment. There is a threshold below that where I think most people live,
Of course.
which is you have fans that need to be fed. Like nourished is almost like the gross word to use here. It's like they need sustenance from you, because I'm a fan of so many people, and then they just kind of like never put out the next album, and you so sadly forget. You're like, dang it. And then by the time they do, it's like a Diet Coke version of themselves. It's sad.
Like starting
Well, they're
over.
trying to make it
Right.
sound like the last one. Right.
Yeah, so there's this huge gap, and I feel like I just feel so lucky to be born at the time that I was, to have the opportunities to be at the place, the bumps and the waves where I was, and to see some stuff. Like, I'm definitely not Nostradamus. I'm not sitting here being like, oh, I can predict all the TikTok things. I just feel lucky that I have at-bats. I have real at-bats on songs that I'm passionate about, and I just trust my gut. I trust my fans because I have a real relationship with my fans. Like, I hear people all the time like, just want to thank the fans. Like, they've never sent a DM to any of those people. I know these people. I have a fan club. We call it Stadium Gang because I have this big dream to play a football stadium. And like, I'm in the chat being like, Taylor, that's awesome that your cat's out of the vet's office. Like,
Yeah.
I know these people.
That's
I know
really
Danielle
cool.
Hood, that
So
she's been
good
to
that you do
30
that.
plus shows.
Right, that's
I know
amazing.
Emily was the first member in the Stadium Gang. Like, I know these people. We go
That's
live on
so
TikTok
cool.
multiple times a week, and I literally see the same names in these people because you create like a little family. You create a landing place, a safe place through your music and through your community and through what you believe and what you say. And I think that's freaking awesome. What other time in history does that exist? It doesn't. I think it's
You
really
might be the
cool.
only artist that actually does that too. Seriously, I don't know of anybody
I
else that
don't-
does that.
It's amazing.
It is.
Well,
It's
thank
very
you.
cool.
Thank you. I love it. And I think that's why it feels worth it to me. Like, the harsh reality is the novelty of streams and ticket sales, it just goes away.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, anybody that sold out a stadium multiple times, they're going on stage and eventually they look out and they're like, yeah, this is my life. This is what I do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's sad. You don't want that to happen. But you know what will never go away is someone going, like, this is a real story. Someone goes, I was on my way home. I have divorce papers sitting at my house, and I'm listening to The Highway. I have a song called Made, and the tag is Soulmates Aren't Found, They're Made. So they listen to the song. Apparently, they pull over to the side of the road. They call this person. They're like, we have to make this work. And those people have tattoos of the word made instead of wedding rings.
Wow, that's amazing.
So that is the difference of like,
By the way, I saw Lalo last night.
yeah,
I saw him last night.
yeah,
Yeah.
Red Door, most likely.
No, at So
No?
Nash Publishing.
There you
It
go.
was, yeah, just a thing.
Yeah. And like, you know, you get to
That
work with
song's
awesome people
amazing.
too. Thank you. Thank
that's
you
a
so much.
super cool
It's a great
story.
song.
That's
Right.
So
You
for that
get
to
you get
happen-
those moments. You get those moments where you're like, oh, this is really worth it. Nobody cares. You don't get to put your stream count on your tombstone.
No.
Nobody gives a shit
What's
about
maybe. It's
and
a thought.
maybe we should.
Mike's like, I'm putting mine on there.
All six
But
of
I
them,
think
right.
I think it's really cool that, you know, you get to touch real people's lives, and I get to do that while owning my masters. I get to do that while calling the shots.
Yeah, you
That's
have a
really fun.
very unusual perspective, which is right in line with what's happening.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
cool.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. It's really
Well,
great.
yeah, but I mean, I guess I have my question is, so this town and the industry in the town tends to operate in a pretty predictable way. And like, you know, you kind of see some of the same stories. Your story is very different.
Yeah.
How have you have you have the roads like crossed each other? Like how have you approached that?
Yeah,
like,
right. Good question.
How does that work?
It's interesting because sometimes I feel like a complete outsider to the thing that I'm in. You know, like, I'm in country music, I'm in this town. And then I'll go to things and I'm looking around, I'm like these aren't necessarily my people as much because I'm not interacting with them on a day-to-day and I'm not playing the game as much. Which, just to be honest, like, I need to do more of because I want to sell at a football stadium. And I actually have never, this is like a good kind of like disclaimer or postclaimer or whatever to the podcast. I've never woken up and been like, I want to be the Macklemore of country music with my middle fingers up, just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Googling every label just to flip it off on my phone.
Johnny Cash.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm not that guy.
But the labels teams are what brought him over the top anyway. They did. They picked up the songs and
Right. So I
stuff.
feel like it wasn't this thing that I set out to do. but it was the only way through for me. So I found this way of making music, putting out music, and touring and all those things. I don't have any like ill will towards the status quo. I just, for me and for my brain, I'm looking at the right and I'm looking at the left, right? Two roads diverged into Yellowwood. And I'm just saying, like, I don't know, that doesn't feel right for me. By the way, like, it was right for Morgan Wallen. He gets to sell out stadiums, and he sold his masters, and he has a big record deal. Amazing. Like,
Maybe you're creating a new road for other artists. Maybe you're going to start a whole new. Maybe it's going to be a whole new.
Right. But that road isn't wrong, and this road isn't wrong, especially if they end up in the same place.
Right.
I think a lot of people just have to ask themselves, what do I want out of this experience? For me, like, and maybe it's bit me in the ass in my life and career. I enjoy the control of it. Yeah. I enjoy the control of saying, I think you're wrong. I think this song is a hit. And I've been wrong. And I've been, what's a hit, but I've been right in the sense that songs have changed my life. And that's really cool. So I took a left. And again, it can lead to some conversations where people are like, why are you unsigned? Like, what's the deal? There's like a whole nother podcast to do on all of that. The reality is I just still love my fans. I want to keep the control, and I want to keep putting out music the way that I am. I'm not against signing anything, especially finding partners and champions that believe in what I see. So I hold out hope that that's still the case. And I think I coexist well. And I think what's been really cool is to watch the respect of some of my peers, people who have gone right or are continue to go right. And they're like, dude, respect, man. Like, and then those same people go and like, how do you do it? How do you whatever? And then I'm asking people on the right, okay, what I see, you guys are doing something pretty cool.
You know that thing where you were at the ball drop?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, how do you do that one? Yeah.
And they're two different games, and at the same time, it's kind of all the same game. Yeah. And so you continue to ask people, I want to be the dumbest guy in the room. I really do. I want to be around people who are blowing my mind, and that comes in all facets, like publishing and records and record deals and all that stuff. So not off the table, just I'm coexisting, and I have a ton of friends in the industry. I love them, and I hope that they just see what I'm doing, not as a threat or like middle fingers up. It's just what was right for me or has been right for me, and it could change.
Right.
Well, I mean, as you look out to all of business, not just music, most of it is trending towards the direction you're going. It's
Absolutely.
Like, what do you want? Do you want 10 people in a room that are allegedly really smart saying that they know what the consumer is going to want, and then putting all this money into R&D and development, and then putting a product out there, and it turns out the consumer doesn't want it. The great example of that is the Segway, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So like, it's like, oh, this is the most amazing thing ever. And then all this money goes into it. And then people are like, well, these are good for tours and mall cops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously.
But not like, it's not replacing cars.
But we all need one?
We all, and so like, but the rest of the world is kind of just putting things out and seeing how the internet reacts to it. And then if they like it, they keep going. If they don't, they take a left or take a right or go backwards and try something new. And it just seems like that's the way all of business is going. But for whatever reason, music is not as quickly going that way. I don't know.
The industry, I feel like that you're talking about, it's like, Jeff and I talk about this sometimes. It's like a cruise ship. Even if it wants to turn, it has to turn so slowly. Like there's no mechanism to just whip it. We don't get some of the benefits of a cruise ship, and we're a jet ski, but we can pivot like tomorrow. If I don't want the song to come out on the 9th, like technically, it doesn't have to come out.
And if you've already decided you don't really care if people think you're cool, you can just do whatever the hell you want.
Right.
That's another part of the music industry that's interesting, is like you also like need to remain cool.
Yeah.
And so you can't do something too different if,
unless you make it crazy cool. Like it's such a weird, you can chase cool forever.
Well, we gave up, right?
I gave up a long time ago.
Mike's cool. What? I gave up.
What are you crazy?
Yeah.
But you can chase cool forever.
I'll be the cool one on the
and
group.
cool's so
Yes, you're the cool one.
subjective. It's like, it's so hard to remain cool. How many times have you seen an artist blow up and then a year later they're like the meme?
Yeah.
Right? It's like how we're just all building these people up just to like tear them down.
Absolutely.
Who knows what's cool? Who knows what's going to stay cool? I think there's a few litmus tests that I just stick to. One of them is, am I proud of it? Like, do I want to listen to the music in the car?
Right.
If I don't, Like that's all I have is, am I making the music that I wish existed in the world?
Well, I think you have to stay authentic too. So if you're authentic to yourself, then people are going to see that. So what's cool, right? I mean, they like you for you, but if you start trying to be something else or try to fit into some cool mode, then that's where you lose people.
And the world is so big. There's so many different ideas of cool. Like my older brother follows like Fish and Lettuce, like jam band people. Technically not for me. I've seen some of that stuff, like respect the musicianship. Awesome. Not necessarily something I'm like going to buy a ticket to, right? They're selling out stadiums.
Oh yeah.
Nobody's
Multiple
asking
days
me,
in a row. Yeah.
like they could tour every night in a city in the world and just crush. I like that for other people. I think that's the difference. Like some people, if they don't like something, it's their personality. They're like, oh man,
Yeah.
I can't wait to tell everyone I know that Taylor Swift. It's like, if you don't like her, that's okay.
Yeah.
Millions and millions and millions of people.
They can't all be wrong.
Post-pandemic, enthusiasm is a dying art.
Yes.
And so, like for me, there was a period of time where everybody was into air fryers. It was like everybody was all about air fryers. I was like, I don't get it, but cool. I'm so happy that you're enthusiastic.
Yeah.
We need that.
I like my air fryer, by the way.
I'm not like, I
Hey,
mean,
don't
I
be
use
bagging
it
on the air fryer.
Yeah, no, I'm just like, I didn't get the
It's cheaper than a sauna.
yeah.
The sauna trend's nice.
I love the sauna trend and the cold plunge. I'm all about it.
Oh yeah. Side fish story. I'm working at Pinewood Social, and it's a long day. Like got there super early, and I need a break. So I start to just kind of go for a walk, and I hear something coming from the amphitheater from Ascend. I just kind of walk over to see what it is, and it's Fish sound checking.
Oh
wow!
And I just stood there. There was nobody. It was me and nobody, and they were just jamming. It was awesome.
And they're so good, right? Like
I love
the
Fish.
best musicians in the world.
Yeah.
And the Grateful Dead and all these people, like these jam bands. Like if you ask my little sister, she's like, "What's a jam band?"
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. Now she's 22 and she's young, so you can ask her what's cool.
Yeah.
But cool is just completely up to each of us. And I think with the internet, you can go and say, "I think this is cool." And a bunch of people can agree with you. That's so cool.
Yeah, think of it as like 100 tribes, basically, not 2 or 3, right? That's the thing.
And then extend it to millions of tribes. There's people out there who they're just couponers. That's what they do. It's their freaking personality, and they find tribe and community in that.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not necessarily clipping coupons, but I love that people love that. I really do, and I think hopefully, if nothing else, if you've listened to this whole freaking podcast, just love the things that you love. Like spend time in those places.
And just to tie it together, his next video is going to have a coupon in it.
Yeah.
The entire Worth the Wait music video is just me couponing. Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome though. Well, so here's what we're going to do. When you play like 10 stadium dates, we're going to do this again.
Yes.
You're going to tell us whether or not you're bored of it.
Yeah.
If you lost your fire, if you
I'm gonna
lost the
start
flame.
painting.
It's
Right,
10 is a
right.
good
Yeah.
like cross section.
Yeah, let's do it.
10,
I'll
be
tell
like,
you this. As a guy who has played for 0 people in many instances in my life, I went and played this outdoor show at a gun club and they had cleaned up for the day. They told me the wrong time, and I needed the $200. So I was like, "Can I still play for the people cleaning up?" The guy's like, "I guess." So my mom, my sister, and my dad are sitting in the chairs. I'm just going like, "What do you guys want to hear?" Wagon wheel. Okay, so I'm literally singing to people cleaning up their vendors, like their tents.
Club.
And I've played sorority events where they're playing music on the speakers. They're like, "Yeah, go ahead and play." Like, "Are you gonna cut the music?" "No, it's kind of a vibe." "Okay, cool. I'll play music while they're different keys. Sick. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Hopefully a third away.
Yeah, trust me. I've played ridiculous, weird
Yeah.
shows 0 people. So when the stadium happens, that is I hope my silver bullet is just the perspective and the gratitude to go like, I would have given anything for this at this moment. And I still remind myself of that. You know, we have our kind of like band saying is like 10 or 10,000, right? It's the same show if 10 people are in the audience. It's the same show if there were to be 10,000 people. And I think that comes from just one, the love of the game. Like, I love playing shows. And two, realizing it has been 10 and it can be 10 again tomorrow. So be grateful for wherever you are right now, right here. So hopefully not, man. Hopefully I'm just loving
I bet not, but we'll do it. We'll find out.
We'll do it for sure.
We'll do it.
Yeah, right.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
Of course.
man.
Thank you guys.
so much.
Yeah, thank
It's
you.
really
Appreciate
great.
you.
Thank you, Cast Collective,
Yes.
for this
Thank you.
awesome set.
Amazing.
Much
Yes.
appreciated.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Boom.
Thank you.
All right, brother.
Woo.